week was a big week in the world of hot rodding. Two long, not lost, but seldom seen cars came out for the first time in years and years and years, since probably the very early 70s. One is the Golden Sahara. It's kind of before all the crazy bubble top stuff started happening and all the radical stuff molded everything and futuristic stuff came out. And so it's kind of one of the very early versions of that. And it had a crazy, like kind of half bubble rear blast. It had bar in it. It was all electronic, the way it all worked. Crazy car. Really kind of groundbreaking in so many ways. It came out finally, and the paint has faded to this crazy gold color. The interior is still mostly intact. The whole car is intact. It's just all faded and chipped and checked and all that sort of thing. But it looks like it would be an easy restoration. So that car came out, and it's going to be in an auction along with the Kookie T. It had a couple different versions of it, but the version that everyone remembers is it was blue with flames. Hot rods became part of popular culture. There was racers, there was guys with street cars, there's Hot Rod Magazine and Rod and Custom, and all of that was happening. But it was aimed at the people who are already into it. But when that car and that face and that hand ended up on Life magazine is when your grandma knew about a hot rod and your uncle and the lady at church knew about hot rods. It became part of America at that point. And it's pretty amazing. It's probably one of the most important moments in hot rod history. Shortly after the Life magazine, Norman Grabowski's T ended up on a TV show named 77 Sunset Strip. And it was this guy named Kookie, and it was his car. So all these kids tuned into America. So Life magazine, on top of super popular TV show, turned that car into an icon. As things go on, he sold that car, and he sold it to this guy, Jim, who also bought the Golden Sahara. Jim took the car to Larry Watson and had him repaint it. And it was painted pearl white with some like kind of red flames on it. They had built the Munsters coach for the family. They had built the Dragula for Grandpa. And Lily was supposed to get a hot rod, and Barris called Jim and was like, hey, I want to turn your car into Lily's car on the Munsters. So at that point, he did all this crazy stuff. He put these fake blowers on it, dual wheels, crazy pipes. I mean, really, he took the car and he added a bunch of stuff on it to make it more interesting for TV. And I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, it's ruined and all that stuff. I mean, it's really not. There's just a bunch of stuff bolted onto it. Could easily be taken off. But anyway, now those cars are out. The Golden Sahara is completely intact. The Kookie T, Norm Grabowski's T, is still completely intact, with a Larry Watson paint job on it. Most of the nuts and bolts in that car are the ones that Norm put there. I mean, it still has the Offenhauser valve covers on the motor mount. I mean, all that stuff is still there intact. And what's going to happen is these cars will end up being auctioned off, and they'll probably go for a lot of money, and they'll probably get restored. And I think that that is both amazing and kind of a shame at once. I'm conflicted about it. They're both important enough that years from now, you want to see those cars in all of their glory. They need to look as best as they possibly can. But to do that, you have to undo all the work that's already there. And now they're sitting there. They've been in storage for 45 years or whatever it is. They're tattered, they're worn, they're checked, mice got into the Kookie car. There's all the crazy Barris stuff. But still, the Barris stuff, I mean, it's the Munsters. I mean, who doesn't love the Munsters? The Munster coach, the Dragula, like, imagine Dragula, the Munsters coach, and the Kookie T dressed up like this all together. I'd totally love it. But anyway, regardless, seeing those cars the way they are is really, really awesome to me because it's so much emotion of the way they did it. Right now, they are completely authentic. Sure, they're beat up, they're barn finds basically, but they're in relatively good shape, and they are what they are. So I just hope when they restore them, they don't try to make them something they weren't, because there's so many historical cars that I've seen that have been restored by some of the best names in the business, and the workmanship is flawless. It doesn't feel old anymore. You go to an antique store and everything smells musty and old. You go to a new furniture store, it smells like new furniture. So the people who turn their antiques into new furniture are missing out on that great smell. So I think I want to try to go see those cars and just like smell them. It's not like these cars were lost. Everyone knew where they were, but Jim, the owner, didn't want anyone to see them in the shape they were. He was very proud of them, and they had deteriorated to the point where he thought they shouldn't be seen. So just in that sense, his wishes would be for them to be restored to their biggest glory. But man, I hope they like tour in some way, or there's some way to see them. I might try to go to the auction just to look at them, because it's once in a lifetime. The Golden Sahara and the Norm Grabowski T have both been unearthed, and it's a really big deal for hot rod nerds like me.
Gesundheit.